Algebra 1 students. Today we're going to be talking about transforming linear functions. This is section 4.10 in your notes. We have some key vocabulary to talk about. Our key vocabulary is parent function. A parent function is the most basic function in a family. We talk a lot about linear functions, and if you remember correctly, our linear function, the parent of our linear function is f of x equals x. And you may also see it as y equals x. Our other key vocabulary is transformation. A transformation is a change in size or shape of a figure on a graph. And we have several different types of transformations and that we're going to talk about. But before we do, I'm going to write y equals mx plus b, because we're talking about linear transformations today, and the m and the b is what will change when we have a transformation. Okay, so we have a vertical translation. That's our first one. That is a slide. If your b increases, you're going up. If your b decreases, you're translating down. And the way that we describe that is we say vertical transformation, either up or down, however many units has that the b value has changed. The next one is a rotation, which is a turn. If your slope increases, you're getting a steeper line. If your slope decreases, you're getting a less steep line. And the way that we describe that is we say it's a rotation with either a steeper or a less steep line. And the last one is a reflection or a flip. This is when the sign of the slope changes. If it was positive, it becomes negative. If it was negative, it becomes positive. The way that we describe that is we say this is a reflection across the y-axis. Okay, let's look at some examples. Here we have two functions. We're going to graph those functions. We have f of x equals 2x, okay? And my b here is 0, so let's start at 0, and let's do the slope up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And now we have this guy graphed. Let's look at the other one. G of x equals 2x minus 4. So we're going to go to negative 4, and our slope is up 2 over 1. Okay. Remember to pause the video if you need time to graph. Pause the video and then come back and listen to the explanation. Okay, let's talk about the transformations. Remember, there's one of three things that's going to happen. Either your b is going to change, or your slope is going to change, either increasing or decreasing, or the sign of your slope will change. Okay, so let's take a look. If we look at the slope of these two lines, we can see that it didn't change, and you can tell that because of because the two lines are parallel. If we look at the b value, however, it did change. And we know if the b changes that it is a translation either up or down. And we went from 0 to negative 4, so we went down 4 units. And that's the transformation that we need to describe. Let's look at some other examples. These we're just going to look at the equation and describe the transformation just from looking at the equation. So we have f of x equals 4x and g of x equals, there's a 1 there, that slope is 1x. So what has changed? Did my b value change? Nope, they're both plus 0. Did my m value change? Yes, it did. It went from 4 to 1. But it didn't change signs. So I know the only transformation I have going on here is a rotation. And it's going to become less steep because it decreased. Okay, so that's the only transformation that has happened in letter A. Let's look at letter B. We have f of x equals 2x minus 1, and we have g of x equals 1x plus 6. So let's ask ourselves, did our b change? Yes. It went from negative 1 to 6. So we're going to have a transformation there. That transformation is going to be a translation. And I went from negative 1 to 6, so I went up 7 units. Did my slope change? Yes. It went from 2 to 1. So I know I'm going to have a rotation. And from 2 to 1, again, it decreased. So I know that my slope is going to be less steep. Okay? The M sign didn't change, so I know there's going to be no rotation going on. No reflection going on. Okay? Let's look at letter C. F of x equals 5x and g of x equals 2x. So if we look at these slopes, the 5 went change to a 2. But let's look at the b's. Did the b change? No. So there's not going to be any translation. My m changed. It went from a 5 to a 2. So I know I have a rotation. And 5 to 2 is a decrease. So it is going to be less steep. Okay? Let's look at D. On letter D, we went from negative 3x plus 2 to g of x, which is 3x minus 4. Okay? So let's talk about the transformations that happened here. Did my b change? Yes. It went from 2 to negative 4. Okay, so I know that that is a translation. Down 6 units. Okay? And did my m change? It did. It went from negative 3 to 3. So the steepness didn't change, but since it went from a negative to a positive, it is a reflection across the x-axis. Excuse me, the y-axis. And that's it for section 410. Have a great afternoon.